FunHob, because what's a YouTube or a Google anyway but a play on words? Welcome to FunHob. Now, this is the very first video, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's my third time trying to record it today, which is really funny if you really think about it, because I am sitting here in front of this camera, preparing to teach you a system designed specifically to make starting things easier. And yet I just spent the last 3 hours doing the exact opposite of starting. I was opening the script on the computer, fixing it, closing it, and then recording and figuring out I sound, awkward. But in the end, I was completely overthinking it. I wanted to make the perfect introduction. I wanted to sound like someone, who has everything figured out. Like someone who arrives with a clipboard, a good morning routine, and a flawless, operating system for life. And the pressure of trying to be that perfect, optimized person, that completely short-circuited my ability to just sit down, hit record, and talk to you. Plus, pretty sure I am not YouTube handsome or have a perfect voice. Plus, it's pretty hard to record when you have tired eyes. And I have been told I have a no emotion resting face. But here I am. And that brings me to this moment, actually, taking a step back. And I think that's exactly where we need to start. Because, that feeling, that highly specific, incredibly frustrating moment where a simple task suddenly turns into a personal crisis, that is exactly what FunHob is built for. I mean, you know the feeling, right? You ever wake up, look at your to-do list, a list you wrote for yourself, by the way, and immediately felt like, you need a nap. You want to be that person who, just does it. But it feels incredibly heavy today. And it feels heavy because we are all walking around carrying this invisible, massive backpack of old expectations. Every abandoned plan goes into this backpack. Every workout we missed 3 years ago goes into the backpack. Every beautiful, expensive notebook we bought, wrote 3 pages in, and then hid in a drawer goes into the backpack. I like to call it the museum of why did I stop doing that hobby I bought all the equipment for? We all have one, right? And the problem is, all of that past evidence gets added to the weight of whatever you're trying to do today. Let's be honest. So one day you decide you want to start something new. Maybe you want to clean your kitchen, or read a book for 10 minutes, or record a YouTube video. And instead of just doing the simple thing, you freeze. Because it doesn't feel like a simple task anymore, right? It feels loaded. It feels like a referendum on your entire personality. It feels like if you fail at cleaning the kitchen today, it proves you will never succeed at anything ever. And once that happens, starting stops feeling simple. It stops feeling human-sized. And that is exactly why, before we do anything else on this channel, we have to talk about the 3 pillars. Now, the 3 pillars are the foundation of everything we do here at FunHob. They are the tools we use to put the heavy backpack down. Because if we don't put the backpack down, trying to improve your life just turns into a giant emotional construction project. It turns into a system with, say, 12 moving parts and a weird amount of shame. Now, the 3 pillars are how we strip the shame away. And they are the beliefs, discipline, and mindfulness. Now, I know these words sound like they belong on a motivational poster in a corporate break room, but I really promise you, we use them very differently here. Let's start with the first pillar, beliefs. Now, when I say beliefs in our system, I do not mean forcing yourself to look in the mirror and shout positive affirmations at yourself. No, please don't do that either. I don't mean pretending everything is great when it isn't. What I mean by beliefs is the quiet running story underneath your ordinary moments. You know, our brains love a story, and more specifically, our brains love a sequel. Now, let's say you plan to do the dishes at 2 p.m., right? But 2 p.m. rolls around and you're just incredibly tired. So you don't do the dishes. A completely neutral event just happened. A human being was tired and a chore was delayed. But that is not how your brain records it. No, your brain immediately convenes the identity jury. Suddenly, the story isn't, I was tired today. The story becomes, I'm lazy. I'm inconsistent. I never finish anything. And then the sequel starts playing. I always do this, every time. Remember that time in 3rd grade when I didn't finish that diorama of the solar system? Well, this is just like Pluto all over again. Do you see how fast that escalates? A 5-minute task suddenly carries the weight of your entire self-worth. You're no longer relating to the dishes. I mean, you're relating to what the dishes say about you as a person. Now, the beliefs pillar is simply the practice of noticing that story and softening it. It is learning how to catch the identity jury in session and politely asking them to leave the room. Because you cannot build a sustainable, comfortable life if you're consistently turning neutral moments into weapons against yourself. Which brings us to the second pillar, discipline. This is a word that carries a lot of baggage for most of us. I mean, we've been taught that discipline is a whip. We treat it like a moral test. If we do the thing, we are good. If we don't do the thing, we are bad. I mean, we think of discipline is just a matter of yelling at yourself louder and louder until you finally get off the couch. It's self-control theater. We operate like a car that only has 2 speeds, right? 100 miles per hour or 0. You're either screaming down the highway, perfectly optimized, tracking every habit, waking up at 5 a.m., or you are completely parked in the driveway eating nacho chips and feeling like a failure. I mean, there's no middle. It's either perfection or total collapse. And let's be honest, that is exhausting. I mean, your engine is going to explode eventually, right? But what if we stop calling it a discipline problem? What if discipline isn't about force? What if it's about making your actions feel holdable? In FunHob, discipline is not a whip. Discipline is just a gentle fence that keeps the chaos out so you can actually breathe. It is the permission to drive at 20 miles per hour. It is the permission to show up and do a C- job. I mean, let me say that again, because the internet hates this idea. You are allowed to do a C- job. You're allowed to do 5 minutes of a task and then quit. Because doing 5 minutes of something with a calm nervous system is infinitely more valuable than doing 2 hours of something while hating yourself. Calm lasts longer than intensity. Intensity burns out. And consistency doesn't come from being a superhero. It comes from making the return feel safe. If the task isn't wrapped in pressure and shame, it isn't scary to come back to it tomorrow. And that naturally leads us to the third and final pillar, mindfulness. Now, do not panic. I'm not going to ask you to buy special cushions, sit in a perfect lotus pose, and become a floating candle person. No. If you want to do that, great on you. But that is not what we mean here. Mindfulness in this system just means noticing. It's the ability to notice the pressure before it takes over the whole room. It's like catching that moment where your shoulders are up by your ears, like this. Your jaw is clenched tight enough to crack a walnut. Where you feel that little familiar pit of anxiety in your stomach. Now, mindfulness is just pausing in that exact split second and saying, oh, there it is. That's the pressure. Think of your mind like the sky and your thoughts like the weather. Most of the time when a storm rolls in, when we feel overwhelmed or behind or guilty, we try to fight the storm, right? We try to fix the clouds. We argue with the rain. But mindfulness is just remembering that you are the sky. You don't have to fix the storm. You just have to watch it. And you have to watch it pass. When you sit down to start a project and your brain immediately starts screaming, this isn't good enough. You're absolutely behind schedule. You should have done this yesterday. Well, mindfulness is the tool that lets you hear that screaming, nod at it, and say, well, thanks for your input, but we're just going to write one sentence today. You don't have to argue with the critic. You just have to stop taking orders from it. Here's a quick segue before we continue. If your brain is like, oh, I needed this, you can just stay here with this. There's nothing else you need to do. But if you want, you can like the video or subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when new videos come out. It helps the channel a bit because, you know, the algorithm gods. And if you ever feel like going a little bit deeper, there's more on Patreon. No pressure, just here if you need it. Future you might even appreciate it. All right, back to the video. Now, when you put these three pillars together, beliefs, discipline, mindfulness, they completely change how you move through your week. Because right now, the reason you're stuck is not because you lack care. I mean, you care a lot. The fact you probably care too much. Caring got tied to an impossible standard, and that standard created pressure, and that pressure created, well, made you paralyzed. Now, these pillars, they dismantle that paralysis. They take the heavy backpack off. And, well, beliefs stop the shame story. Discipline lowers the bar so you can actually start. And mindfulness catches the panic before it takes root. You don't have to prove anything this week. You don't need to fix your entire life by Friday. You don't need to do a full system reboot on a Tuesday afternoon. Alignment is a soft turn. It's not a hard reset. You're not a project to be optimized. You're just a person trying to make things a little more holdable. So as we wrap up this very first video, I'm not going to give you a massive homework assignment. No. I'm not going to tell you to completely overhaul your schedule. I just want to offer an invitation. I mean, for the next few days, don't try to change your behavior at all. Just see if you can notice the pillars operating in the wild. Notice when the identity jury shows up to judge you over a laundry pile. Notice when you treat a task like a 100-mile-per-hour sprint instead of a gentle stroll. Notice when your shoulders tense up. I mean, just name it. Oh, there's the heavy backpack. Because once you can see the weight, you have the option to set it down. And before I go, well, let me say thank you for being here at the very beginning of this. I got to tell you, I started FunHob because I've been on both sides of this. I've had seasons where I got my life together. You know, I felt clearer and I thought maybe I had finally figured out how to get my life moving in a way that actually lasts. And I've also had seasons where things slipped. Life happened, and I ended up right back in that frustrating place of wondering why something that once made sense got so hard to hold on to again. Which is a deeply humbling experience, I gotta tell you. But at some point, I stopped wanting another dramatic restart, and I just started wanting to understand the pattern itself. I mean, why do things feel heavier than they need to? Why does effort sometimes turn into pressure so fast? I mean, why do simple things become emotional projects? Why does one missed day suddenly feel like a whole identity problem? Part of building this also came from thinking about my kids. Knowing they're going to grow up and hit confusing moments too. Moments where life feels messy, heavy, unclear, discouraging, or just harder to carry than it looks from the outside. And realizing I will not be able to protect them from all that. And that sucks. Because let's face it, advice usually does not land when life is clean. It lands later, after you've lived enough of it to finally recognize what someone was trying to tell you. Well, I wanted to build something that was here for the messy parts. Even this week has been a perfectly ordinary, messy week for me. My car developed a sudden condition called, flat tiredness, and I got some unexpected bills, and the week just felt heavy. But that is exactly why we do this. Not to fix the flat tires, no. But to make sure a flat tire doesn't turn into a referendum on my whole life. I'm allowed to start small and still take myself seriously. I'm Mark. It took me 3 tries to record this video, but we finally got here. And I'll see you in the next round. If this feels like something you've been needing, you can stick around here. Just don't forget to like the video and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You'd be doing me a solid by helping me out and helping out the channel because, algorithms. And if you ever want to go a little bit deeper, there's more on Patreon. There's no pressure, it's just there when you need it. A big thank you again for watching, and see you next time.